Hi everyone, welcome to this special Me the Fourth Star Wars Singapore special edition. Joining me today are three hardcore fans of from the Star Wars universe. My name, of course, is Raj Kumar, and I first became a fan of the Star Wars franchise back in 1977 when A New Hope first was released. As a 6-year-old, my mom dragged me to the cinema, and it was packed. I tell you, the cinema, if you guys recall, Capitol, Capitol Cinema, a classic, landmark in Singapore, and I was watching it in the front second row. That's how packed the cinemas were. So as a 6-year-old watching it, from the second row in the front, never forgot it. So my other guests, I'll let them introduce themselves, starting first with Azmi, Danuri.
Hi, my name is Azmi. I'm the founder of a lightsaber performance group in Singapore called Fight Saber. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was maybe about 6, 7. That was when back then there was no Star Wars in the cinema, so it's like I was watching it on a bootleg VHS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Back then there was no. When was this?
The 90s.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Star Wars had already stopped in '84. We Return of the Jedi. Hamish.
Early 90s. So
yeah.
I'm quite young now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm Hamish Brown, and I guess I'm the old man here with beard and everything. Big Star Wars fan, and I remember Star Wars vividly because I'd heard about it, reading about it. I was a teenager of about maybe 14 years old, and it played in Singapore at the Odeon Theatre, and I remember it was a school day, so I cut classes. And I went to see it, the first showing at 11 o'clock in the morning, I think I remember. And we were out there and somewhere in the back row, and we snuck in there. We obviously, I had to wear different, because it was a school uniforms day. So I had to wear something else, right? Go in there, sit down. And I remember when the credits finished, or at least the credits started and the crawl went up. And then you see the interplanetary scene, and the camera pans down, and then you get the rebel blockade runner going by, and you're going, holy what was that? And then after that, the Death Star goes over your head, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and I'm telling myself, I am seeing something new here. This is a whole different galaxy of filmmaking. And from that point on, I think I studied everything I possibly could about George Lucas, about Star Wars, about movie making, how they made movies in general. And I was, to this day, I still am very, very upset that we didn't have back in Singapore at that time a filmmaking type, studies or some kind of anything to delve into. Because it was this kid, 14, 15 years old, looking up the cinema screen and going, this is my escape. This is what I want. I want to get off the planet right now. Where do I apply? And it was just amazing. I think my whole world. To paraphrase something from Star Wars, I just took my first steps into a larger world. I think that's what Obi-Wan said. So yeah. That was it for me.
It was definitely a mind-blowing experience for all of us when we first saw it. Just to let the netizens know, Hamish is actually speaking to us from Thailand. So, thank you very much, Hamish. And we've got Brody Walker. Brody, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks, Raj. Yeah. So, as you can probably tell, I'm not native Singaporean, but I have made it my home for the last 6 years.
You don't say.
And very very much involved in the community here from, usual May the 4th events. And I come from the background of the vintage toy line. So there's a very big population in Singapore that has that nostalgic attachment to Star Wars, much like what you've all talked about already. It's come from seeing the movies as a kid, growing up with the toys, to, what it is these days. But we in our community have this very fond attachment to the old toys and the old memories that we have, and thrive off that and try and spread that through the community. So I guess my own recollection of Star Wars is I actually didn't grow up with it in the cinemas, so to speak, but I used to grow up with playing with the toys when I was probably 7 years old and watching it on VHS, and that got me. And then back in '96, I think I got back into the collection side. So yeah, and it's just spiraled ever since.
Yeah. I think VHS seems to be a common feature among all four of us. VHS. Try telling that to the new generation. Well, guys, it's May the 4th. It's almost coming to 6 months since the end of the Skywalker saga hit the cinemas. With the rise of Skywalker in last December. So let's talk about the last trilogy first, Brody. Your reaction to the role, I would say, to the role of Luke Skywalker in that final trilogy.
Well, it's a good question to start on, but I guess it's a touchy subject, especially coming from people that are very much tied to the original trilogy. And whilst it was fantastic to see him in it, it felt like he probably didn't get the recognition or the screen time he deserved. And it would have been great to see him link up with the characters of Princess Leia and Han Solo, which didn't eventuate as such. But I guess in a way, like that fan service to bring him back was a good thing.
Okay. Hamish.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, actually, although everybody was hoping for the final trilogy to be something great, I watched it. I think J.J. Abrams, with his Force Awakens installment, I think he played it safe. I think he and Disney played it safe. What they did was, in my opinion, they rehashed A New Hope and just had a female hero in the form of Rey. But it really is just a rehash. I mean, for today's audiences, it was probably very good. I liked the fact that they gave it over to Colin. Who was this? The next guy that did. Rain Johnson. Yeah,
Rain Johnson.
And Rain Johnson, he stepped out. He took really, I would say, very strange choices. In
The Last Jedi, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the fans have very, very, if you ask them, a lot will say, I don't like The Last Jedi. A lot will say, The Last Jedi was so-some. But I think for Rain Johnson, I think that's him. He took the script and he took choices with it, and he took certain things with it, took it out in different areas. But I think because he did it that way, J.J. Abrams, who started it, had an idea of a storyline, and then Rain took it somewhere else, and then the third movie had to sort of like join up or reconnect all the dots. And everything kind of like just, I think the last trilogy really fell apart. And I'll say it now, I think by buying out George Lucas and then saying, George, we don't want any of your ideas, I think the third trilogy suffered. I think we could have stopped at number 6 without going to 7, 8, or 9. Really, and I mean that's my personal take on it, because I really think that if you look at how George designed his movies, 4th, 5th, and 6th, everything has this kinetic energy. George is all about speed, down the trench, and then the big revelation in number 5 about I am your father. I mean, this is before the internet. Can you imagine you're watching this and you don't know anything in advance, and you're going, holy smoke, he's the father? How come, and then in number 6, you have all this kinetic energy with the the bikes going in the forests of Endor and everything. And then he did it again in episode 1 with the pod races. George Lucas is all about speed. And then I think I read somewhere that in the last trilogy, what he wanted to do was to explore the midi-chlorians.
And
okay. I don't know. I think, I mean, there's something there, because I think what he wanted to do was probably to expand on the midichlorians and kind of like bring it back to, okay, if you look at the Avengers, you go into the quantum realm. I think if you had given George something, the midichlorians could have been the Star Wars equivalent of the quantum realm for the Avengers and everything like that. It could have been an interesting story. It could have been like something different, but still Star Wars, but still something different. But I think the last trilogy, as done by Disney, was really Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6 for a different generation. And, the results are middling, but don't shoot me. I'm only the messenger.
Okay, so we're still going with the specific characters first. Azmi, before I come to you. So my take on Luke Skywalker, number one, I hated the fact that they promoted him in The Force Awakens, like we're going to see, Han Solo, we're going to see him, and then only to find out that he appears right at the end of the bloody film, like 2 minutes on The Force Awakens, and everybody's like, and then he had
So
this
you don't go anywhere.
Huh? Sorry?
So you don't go anywhere, you watch it to the end.
Yeah. So and we see him with that constipated look when Rey finally sees him at the top of the hill or the mountain or whatever, and that was it. Oh, that was Luke Skywalker. And then we finally see him in the second one, where I think the best scene was when Kylo Ren lined up all his AT-ATs and they just fired at him, and that was outside that rebel so-called abandoned base right at the end when Kylo Ren. Yeah, so that for me was the best.
Is that your favorite scene?
From that of Luke.
That movie?
Of Luke.
Oh, okay.
Of Luke only. Azmi, Luke Skywalker in the final trilogy. His impact.
I think Luke Skywalker in the final trilogy is that I think it's quite logical for him to be like that. I think he grew bitter, after whatever happened to him. And that's the only logical way you can end his character. And I feel that, although I feel like we should have something more before this sequel trilogy, maybe like in between 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, we need some movies to fill up of everything that happened before the final trilogy. So then we can feel more of Luke Skywalker's impact on the galaxy.
Yeah. Because we saw Rogue One and Solo, that story, those two were set even before. Yeah, way before. So maybe you're right. They should have maybe had a standalone between 6 and 7. I think that's where the animated series came in.
Clone Wars.
No. Clone Wars was...
Clone Wars
actually...
Clone Wars is
2 and 3.
2 and 3, yeah.
2 and 3,
2 and 3. The new one.
Rebels is actually before episode 4.
You're talking
Mandalorian, right?
Correct. And you had the Mandalorian. I mean, we saw the 8 episodes. So apparently they're supposed to be filming right now, season 3. I mean, we haven't even seen season 2 which is going to debut in October. So we'll keep the Mandalorian for a second. Okay, so we've discussed Luke. Brody, we come back to you. The role of Leia and maybe Han Solo. Before I come to you, I hated the fact that we found out that Leia was able to float in space, and then she's able to... the things that Leia did in... in episode 9.
Last Jedi.
Yeah. It was... that means episode 8. It blew my mind in the wrong way, because, it seemed like as if Disney or... like you say, Rian Johnson just needed to somehow connect and Leia to make sure that even though she apparently died in the explosion, but she still lived in the end, or some stupid thing like that. Brody, we'll come to you with Leia and Han Solo.
Yeah, well, I could probably talk a lot about the Mary Poppins effect on Leia.
I love that.
But that could be a long discussion. But I share your sentiment, Raj. For Leia, I think it was quite difficult considering she passed away before episode 9.
Yeah,
and so
1 year before.
They had to salvage what they could out of her, and but the thing is, they still had 7 and 8 to do something with it, and we all know that. And whilst there was interactions with Han, it kind of didn't have that element like it did in Empire, where you had that raw kind of, I guess, they were drawn to each other. They played off each other so well, and it worked so well in that particular series. Whereas this one was kind of like, oh, hi Han, hi Leia, blah blah blah, and it was like it just didn't have that emotion. So it's not just about bringing back the original cast, but it's the way they bounce off each other and play off each other is very important, and it didn't quite show it, and it might have been the script. I assume it would be, because they always have that, I guess, that chemistry as it is. As for Han Solo, I actually thought he was a good character in Episode 7. Like, he's older, and he's obviously not as sarcastic or whatever as he was in the original, but I still think he did all right. And you know, people like Harrison Ford can turn a bad script into something good based on their acting. So I guess he was good, but again, he wanted to die in one of these. That's what I hear anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess JJ just ran in that bit. He did go out on a bit of a somber note, and again, it would have been good to see the guys, all three of them, interact with each other. But it is what it is, and I guess you can't complain that we didn't see them. But I guess at the beginning, you knew they were coming back. You were expecting a lot more. I think Han was probably the only one that showed part of that, and that's only one movie.
Yeah, and he got to fly the Millennium Falcon again with Chewie in 7. Yeah, and then he appears as the ghost in Episode 9. So,
yeah, and actually that was not bad.
More like a memory instead of a ghost.
Memory. Yeah. Yeah. Hamish, Solo and Leia.
I think they were the perfect couple right through until Episode 6. I think a lot of this, the last trilogy, is a problem because unfortunately Carrie Fisher, passed on midway through production of, I think, the final episode, or just before the final episode had. So they had to get all these already shot footage together and work a story around her. I think also there was talk that if she hadn't died, I think Episode 9 would have actually focused a lot more on Leia. And well, obviously, she not being around, you have to work with whatever you've got. And I think, as Brody has rightfully said, the scripts suffered, the characters suffered as well. And I'm never going to look at Mary Poppins with what Brody has said again. And it's the truth. She flying in space really took me out of Last Jedi. I think if you have the Force and you have the power of the Force, and that's all well and good, but I think you stretch a bit of credibility, and Rain was probably off the mark, at least on that. I like the fact that sometimes you have this Force lightning and you have all these other things that you can do, but flying through space, that just, I think, probably was when the whole series, I think, jumped the shark, if you know the phrase, right? And I think because she passed on, Han and Leia didn't quite have all that energy of being together on screen together as much. So that probably made the last episode suffer a bit. And even, I think, by the nature of the story and the script in Episode 8, because Han only came back because he wanted to die in 7. That kind of like put the story in one direction anyway, so you don't have that interaction in number 8 between Han and Leia. And the real fans of Star Wars, those who have seen it from the start in 77, the characters are everything. The characters of Luke, Leia, Han, this is the holy trinity, if you will, and if you don't have that base to work from, I think a new trilogy suffers, because although you bring in new characters, like take Snoke, for instance. In Episode 7, you have Snoke, You develop him as some kind of great character, and then in episode 8, you kill him off in the most, you know, just like that. I mean, like, well, if you could die like that, then, you know, it wasn't a big deal anyway, you know, I mean, and why all the build up? So I think that's why the script suffers, at least for the last trilogy for me. And as an extension for Leia and Han, yeah, their characterizations suffer because of the script.
Azmi, Han and Leia.
First, I would like to defend the flying in space thing. Technically, you don't fly in space; you float in space. Yeah. So, I mean, the problem with that scene is that how it was shot and how the effects were put on. If you watch Star Wars Rebels, Kanan did this exact same thing, floating in space using the Force, and that was really well done. So with Leia, I mean, she's a Skywalker. She learned from Luke. She knows how to use the Force. I mean, it's also written in the novels after the fact. So we know what Leia can do. I mean, even before this, in the expanded universe, we know that Leia was a trained Jedi and all that. So I was not surprised that Leia could do that, but it was how it was done, the effects used in the shot, that makes it really out of place. But otherwise, I believe it. She can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Among other things also as well, like Hamish and Brody said, the tragic death of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah. 1 year before the movie was released.
Yeah. I mean, she was supposed to go all the way until episode 9, and then her role was reduced in 9 because of that. So I feel that's a great loss. I also agree with Hamish that I feel like we need more interactions between the original trilogy cast members, like Luke, Leia, and Han, especially with Han and Leia. In episode 7, we see that they feel like old couples who like separated. It's like, oh hey, it's you, blah blah, and all that. I mean, like I can still somehow feel the love and some animosity between them, but it's not enough. So I feel like the writers don't play to the strength of these characters.
They focused on the new ones, like Rey, Finn, Poe. Yeah, I think that's where the writers were going.
What I feel is that each character, like Han, Luke, and Leia, has something to offer to the new guys, like Finn, Rey, and Poe. So what I feel that what they wanted to do was each episode, like each character gives something to the newer characters, but it didn't really happen. I mean, it doesn't show as much as they wanted to.
Okay, next question will come to Hamish, Brody, and Azmi. Then we'll reverse it. Hamish, let's talk about Rey. And who would have thought she's the grandchild of Palpatine, and she wasn't the daughter of scavengers or whatever that was initially thought. And the role that, and this was in 2015 when episode 7 came out, and that was when the Me Too movement and all that was already out there. And then all of a sudden you saw, okay, they started to do a women's version of Ocean's 11. They did a Ghostbusters edition featuring a women's cast. We just saw last year Charlie's Angels with, I think, Bosley, being played by a female character. Captain Marvel was a woman. I mean, I'm not against the idea, but I think in a way Hollywood has taken it to a whole new level where they have to intentionally create more leading roles than they probably should have. So I mean, I didn't entirely like the character of Rey. That's my own personal take, but what is yours?
I agree that the whole woke thing in Hollywood with women and Harvey Weinstein and everything that notwithstanding has elevated this this feeling that women have been marginalized, and now we need to put them back up there. Not that they were never there in the first place. I think they, you know, you have some great roles that the women have done. Yeah. In my take, Rey, I think as a story or as a character for a story, I think it was a great marketing idea to put her out there and then keep her origins shrouded in mystery, because I think that's great marketing. Is she a Skywalker? If she is, how'd she become a Skywalker? Has Luke been, you know, playing hide the sausage somewhere? Nobody knows what's been happening, right? Because, you know, can it be that Han Solo has been playing around? But then if Han Solo's been playing around, she can't be a Skywalker. She's got to be a Solo. Can it be Leia who's been playing around? But, you know, I think it's all a problem with the script, because we had, like, you know, a proper trilogy with the original characters to get to know them. The new trilogy didn't have enough backstory about the characters. You know, they tried to focus on Rey, which, you know, the mystery was where is she from, what's her heritage, etc., which is great. Kylo Ren, we all know he came from, you know, Han and Leia, but I would actually have preferred to have seen his backstory. We start off with him already at the dark side. You know, that's a tremendous leap. You know, I think you need to give some time to find out why he went to the dark side. You know, I mean, he's a Skywalker. You know, obviously, as the trilogy, or at least the last trilogy, progresses, then you realize that he, you know, they give you information that he becomes disillusioned or whatever, but it takes too long. You have to develop the characters, and I think that was where I think the initial failing was. As far as Rey is concerned, I like the fact that there was mystery. I hate the fact that at the end of it all, she's not even a Skywalker. She's a Palpatine. She's a Palpatine who says, I don't want to be a Palpatine. I want to be a Skywalker. You know, she looks at two images in the desert on Tatooine at the end of the series, and this lady, you know, says, "Who are you?" And she says, "I'm Rey." And Rey who? And then she looks at these two images, and it's Leia and Han, and Leia and Luke. And then she turns back to the lady and says, "Rey Skywalker." But no, she's not.
Hey, you don't have to legally change your name.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, you know, you don't need a whatever it is. You don't need a court or anything. Just change your name to Skywalker. But yeah, you know, I mean, I think that was a cop-out. I think that was really more a case of, like, they're doing a lot of script juggling at the end of the day, which tells me that the last trilogy had problems, you know, and they were just trying to
join the dots. Brody, Rey as the leading focal point of the last trilogy. Your thoughts?
I think I share the same sentiment as what's already been brought up. It's definitely driven by the Me Too movement, or, you know, the fact that we need to see more female based roles or main roles, and I'm totally fine with that. But at the same time, it's kind of like it's depending on the, you know, the type of movie it is and what it actually means and all that. Like, you wouldn't see it go the other way. Like, you wouldn't want to put guys into Pitch Perfect or something. I don't know, whatever girl-based movie as an example. But so I feel like that was kind of forced a little, and I don't know if that's off the back of Kathleen Kennedy. Now, and a lot of it seems like a lot of the decisions that were made may have come from her, and ultimately has affected how the trilogies happened. But for Rey itself, decent character, decent actor or actress.
Yeah.
So you can't fault her for what she's done. It was a good character, but I don't feel it needed to be the lead character. As in, she could definitely be in that world and definitely have a part there, but I wouldn't have focused the whole story around her.
Yeah. And then there was, Azmi, will come to you, then there was this, you know, is she, or are they together or not? You know, Finn and Rey. Even till the end of the trilogy, we never knew. That was never...
Yeah.
Yeah. Azmi? Rey as the lead character.
I think Rey as a character, I think it's actually quite great. As we know, Star Wars has many great female characters. Even in the expanded universe, you can see that even there are great female leaders like Tanelka, like even Solo and Hans and Leia's daughter, Jaina. In the end, she became one of the greatest Jedi ever. So Rey on screen is a lead character, Jedi. It's good to see. However, I feel like she's still not as developed as every other characters in the other trilogies. Even Padme has more development than Rey, I think. Yeah. So what Hamish said earlier was like, we still need 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 episodes.
Yeah.
We get 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, because we saw.
And I love the actress Daisy Ridley. She's great. The character, I feel, could be better, but I think would suffice in this trilogy. But I of course didn't like that she was built up to be like a nobody, and then we show her as a nobody in episode 7, and then reinforces the fact that everybody and nobody can, if you are nobody, can still become a Jedi with the broom boy on Canto Bight in episode 8. And then episode 9, you reveal that she's a Palpatine. It's like, it's annoying.
And then, like you said, I know this was a nightmare sequence or something, because in the comic it says it was Palpatine who imbued the Force into Shmi Skywalker, conceived Anakin Skywalker. So technically, technically Palpatine is also a Skywalker. It's like if you hyphenated so it's like Palpatine dash Skywalker. Yeah, I think the movies set. Apart from the books and the comics, I think when they did the movies, it was just for the mass audience, So there will be there are definitely 101 loopholes, which are the hardcore fans, like yourself, you'll be able to trace it together. But coming back to like what you said, she was revealed to be as an untrained. Nobody knew that she was a Jedi or even had the Force. And then in episode 7, she was able to take on Kylo Ren one-on-one in the forest when they both fought with the lightsabers. An untrained person could face, Kylo. So that one was also another.
To be fair, Kylo Ren was just shot by a bowcaster. So when he's injured, he's like basically dying. He got shot by a Wookiee bowcaster. Any normal person would have died. But not Kylo Ren. So he's still like using the Force to live and all that. Also, he's still using a lot of energy. So I believe that it's possible that Rey, even though she's not a trained Jedi, she's still a fighter. So she's just using all her strength and whatever she knows, living on the desert of Jakku, surviving, it's like trying to survive this against Kylo Ren.
Okay, so let's talk about our friend Kylo Ren. I will finish what you started. Balls lah. Okay, the whole role of Kylo, when the fact that he started to have these, telepathic, or using the Force, and they were able to see each other, the communication between Rey and Kylo. And then he faced a great deal of conflict with his emotions and all that. You compare him and you compare Vader. I think there's no comparison. Vader is still the ultimate villain, and Kylo, unfortunately, I think from episode 8 midway onwards, I think that's when I sort of lost the feeling for him. To think that he would be a great villain. Let's start with Azmi. Your take on Kylo Ren in this particular trilogy.
Did Kylo Ren really finish what
Vader started?
Vader started. So, what do we know? It's like Vader. What did Vader start? Like killing the Jedi, or what? It wasn't Vader who started killing the Jedi. Vader didn't start anything. It was actually Palpatine who started everything.
Yeah.
So, if you were to say that Vader wanted to destroy the Sith, I mean, like Anakin wanted to destroy the Sith. He became what he swore to destroy. So basically, started everything. So Anakin started to become a Sith, and so Ben Solo wanted to become a Sith as well. So he started doing what his grandfather was doing, and also in the end, he and Rey destroyed the Sith as well. So I don't know. I feel like in some sort of convoluted way, it's still like finish what Anakin and Vader started.
Yeah. Brody, your take on Kylo Ren?
Interesting character. I think, like, some aspects of it, of what he portrayed and what he did was quite good. Like, I like the fact that he was very torn between his emotions, in a way, but it showed his flaws, and that's effectively what you want to see in those type of characters. But at the same time, I think he pulled in many different directions by the directors of the film. So he didn't really stand a full chance of really becoming a character on his own in that respect. So like you said, Vader built up a big, like, he was a very strong character, and that just built up and built up. And whereas Kylo kind of went up and down all the way through it to the point where you didn't know really what to expect. And, you know, that's all fine. But in terms of a strong, I guess, baddie for a character, it's not exactly what you want to see.
Hamish?
I think Kylo Ren, acted by Adam Driver, Adam is a great actor, but I think he just didn't have enough background of the character to make the character work on screen. And I think that I put that down to just bad script writing. At the end of the day, you need to invest into a character. You need to know what makes the character tick. And you don't have to, like, you know, be spoon-fed everything, but you need to know stuff. I think J.J. Abrams' way of doing things is like, we start at this particular portion and you know, give you this bits of information, and then there's a bit of a flashback or something so you know a little bit. But it's too little and too late in the game. When you start off, you're already given that, you know, Kylo Ren is a bad person. Fair enough. But, you know, you're talking about a person who was the son of of Leia and Han Solo. And how did they become such bad parents to make him go to the dark side like that? You know, I mean, that is, to me, a fundamental question, which I think the last trilogy never really addressed. You are just supposed to, at the get-go, say, okay, here's Kylo Ren. He was Ben Solo. He grew up bad. You know, and I mean, you're expected to take a whole lot and then run, and then later on, even then, you don't really know why he switched over to the dark side. You know that Luke tried to train him, but for some strange reason, you know, he was just had bad genes. Which
it seemed like it was Luke's fault. I mean, the way that it was portrayed, it was Luke's fault that
And you know, even then, also, I mean, you're not showing enough. You know, why does Luke think it's Luke's fault? You know, I mean, like, you know, I think you need to have a lot more information, and it doesn't have to be linear, no doubt, but it does need to be given so that you have context. Without that, then, you know, to just simply be told, yeah, here's the character, he's bad, run with it, you know, and then just deal with it. I think the story then suffers because of that, and the characters will suffer. And no matter what Adam Driver does as Kylo Ren, no matter what Daisy Ridley does as Rey, I mean, in episode 9, when the both of them kissed, I was mortified. I mean, holy smoke! I mean, like, come on!
Is that technically incest or something?
Exactly. I mean, really, yeah, exactly. As we think about it, I mean, like, okay, she's a Palpatine now; she wants to be a Skywalker, but she kissed Adam Driver, who was Kylo Ren, who was supposed to have been Ben Solo. I mean, like, you know. So that's why, I mean, the whole writing process itself really suffered because maybe of deaths in the production and just, you know, different directors who had different approaches, who wanted to do things different. They were given latitude and freedom to do so. But I think the takeaway is that if you have a big production like this and you say, okay, here's this director for this episode and this director for this episode and this director for a third episode, without an overarching story that three directors can sort of like go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Then you've got some kind of cohesiveness. But without that overarching story, knowing how the dots are kind of like linked, then if you just do it as separate entities and then try to link up the dots at the last episode with only a finite runtime, 2 hours and a bit, I think you lose points and you will lose something ultimately in the end.
Can we all agree that George Lucas was not consulted for the final trilogy? Or
yes.
Was he? He wasn't, right?
Yes.
He wasn't.
He was consulted on certain stuff like maybe like a few details here and there, and then some of the story that the story group will have to fill in as well.
Okay.
But I just want to point out that the other two trilogies only episodes 1, 2, and 3 have an overarching script.
Okay.
And nobody liked them. I mean, not nobody, like a lot of people don't like episode 1, 2, and 3, but they do. But that is George's pure, unadulterated vision of Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah. When he first, he wrote.
A lot of people hated it.
Yeah, he wrote episode 1, I think, in 1994, when the film was 5 years later in 1999 when it was first released. We'll come back to Hamish, and one more question on the last trilogy. Palpatine, was it necessary for the filmmakers to bring back this character and we only hear of him, in the final installment? Or could they have just gone and stayed with another master villain, like Snoke, for example?
Well, I mean, if you kill Snoke in episode 8 after building him up in episode 7,
exactly.
You don't have a big bad anymore. So then you have to sort of like pull something out of the hat. And I think J.J. Abrams was like pushed into a corner, and I guess he spoke to Chris Terrio, the writer, and then said, okay, Chris, who's the big bad? Who do we have? Jabba? No, cannot. Boba Fett? No, cannot. Palpatine, I know he was killed. Darth Maul? No, he was cut in half. Okay, well, Palpatine went down in some lightning flashes or something.
Yeah.
We didn't actually see him die. Maybe we can bring him back. I mean, I tend to think that was probably, it may not have been that way, but I think it was by process of elimination. The big bad has to be whoever's left on the board after all these chess pieces were taken away. And honestly, Palpatine, I don't know. I think what's been there, done that. To me, actually, Snoke was interesting. Snoke as a big bad was interesting because I was actually interested in this character. Where did he come from? I mean, he obviously had some kind of backstory. But when Rian Johnson takes him out very, very quickly with this lightsaber cutting him in half, I mean, I think that for me took out most of the story and the menace of anything that could come out of the script for the rest of 8 and even 9, because no big bad, nothing to build up. I mean, Darth Vader as a great villain, because you see him first in number 4, and I think look at the way he's introduced. The first time you see him, you hear him. You hear his deep breathing, and without even saying anything, he just walks into frame. He doesn't even do anything. His stormtroopers have killed everybody, but he walks into the frame. He looks around and he walks off. That is a perfect introduction. You boo, you hiss at him. You tell him that's the villain. That's the big bad. This is the guy I must hate over the course of this movie. Not knowing then it would become a trilogy, becoming 6 episodes, whatever.
And that was back in 1977. Wow.
Yes. With no big bad at the very start. It's hard. I think it's hard.
We'll come to ask. We'll go to Azmi before going to Brody. Azmi, your thoughts, Palpatine. But we can all agree. Hang on, I think we can all agree to bring back Ian or Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor. 30 years after Return of the Jedi. I think that was a fantastic move on Disney, right? We agree.
I mean, Ian McDiarmid is, of course, you obviously want him back. But, well, for me, having Palpatine as a big villain absolutely makes sense, because from episode 1 all the way, Palpatine has been pulling the strings in the background. Palpatine was the one who initiated started the Trade Federation war against the Naboo people.
Yep.
He wanted to become, he's a politician, he wanted to become a
senator,
chancellor.
Chancellor.
So he's also a Sith Lord. We all know he's a Sith Lord, but the other characters don't know that. So he sets everything in motion from episode 1, how he becomes chancellor and then he becomes emperor. It makes sense that for him to still be in the background and pulling strings here and there, the puppet master. It makes sense. I also don't have an issue with Snoke being killed off just like that. In the original trilogy, in episode 4, we only hear of the Emperor. We do not know who he is or how he looks like. We only hear of him. And then in episode 5, we see him in a hologram.
Yeah.
In a very short scene. And then in episode 6, he gets killed off. So it's the same as Snoke. For Palpatine, you see, sorry, I was like all over the place just now. So let me repeat again. Snoke gets killed off in 2 episodes. Same as the Emperor in the original trilogy.
Brody, should they have gone with another master villain or bring back, resurrect Palpatine or Palpatine?
I think they had to do something after killing off Snoke. So I guess my view, is a little different on that. Firstly, I understood Palpatine to be a clone. Is that right? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's
I think that's how it's
Right. So I kind of agree with the fact that, bring him back in, it's fan service, definitely, because they've killed off Snoke. So it made sense to do something like that. But at the same time, it kind of downplays the whole end of the first trilogy. So if you killed off the Emperor, you've done this, and all of a sudden he's appeared again. It's like, well, right, so I've just wasted, those first 3, the first 2 movies, thinking about, or first 2 movies, or the second 2 movies, thinking about how Palpatine is now killed, and that's the end of the series, and this comes back. But again, the backstory to Snoke wasn't there, and it needed something. It didn't need to be a whole episode or anything. I have no idea where he came from. I don't know if he was a Jedi before that. I actually thought he linked into that character back in the first, the prequels, the one that ordered the clone army. But I don't know.
Sidious.
Is it Sidious?
It's a
Sidious.
Yeah, so I don't know enough about the new stuff, and I don't read about the new stuff enough to really kind of put it all together. But I thought, well, maybe if there was a connection that way, it would be good because it would tie it all together. But no, you didn't hear anything. But they had to do something with Palpatine. Well, they had to do something with the main villain. So I think bringing Palpatine back was good. Could have been done differently, but at the same time, I guess it was good. It was good to see him in some respects.
Yeah, and the way that
they had to. Just in the end, they had to do something. They had to bring a master villain back because Kylo wasn't that master villain.
And the way that he got killed off, oh my god! And that, I don't know, corny line that Rey said. What was it? When she joined the 2 lightsabers or something? There was a corny line that she said before, just unleashing the energy.
I think she said like, "I'm all of the Jedi" or something.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I like that scene, but I would have preferred. It would have looked a lot better with like a lot of the Jedi ghosts behind her or something, giving her power or something,
Yeah, I think that would have actually sold the point a lot better. You know, I mean, everyone, Qui-Gon Jinn, the you know, Obi-Wan, everyone, everyone, you know, and
Luke.
Yeah, that would have been. I agree.
Okay, Brody. So, in the end, did Disney do justice to George Lucas's original vision? I don't know whether he had a vision for 7, 8, and 9. And do you think that Disney sort of compromised on the trilogy, this last one, and added new characters like the Pogs? Oh my God, the Pogs! just to sell merchandise. Do you know the Pogs were selling? Hamish, they were selling at $80, 80 Singapore dollars at Toys R Us.
Kidding.
$80. Who buys a Pog for $80? And it's just this small, $80. But yeah, Brody.
Right, I think I can pretty much summarize this in one word. No.
Yeah.
Disney did not do
Justice.
George Lucas justice with this trilogy. It was purely from a dollar point of view, and I think we all know that. They invested a lot of money into this. And so what they were doing was trying to make this the most, commercial type of event that it has been since the start of Star Wars. And whilst they got that, you have a look at, say, things like merchandise now, like the toys, they don't sell anymore. Like the what I hear, action figures don't sell anymore. Or because potentially no one was really invested into the story of the movie. So, what was the second question? Sorry.
Whether they compromise and they created characters intentionally just to sell merchandise.
Yeah, I think we all know that is definitely the case. And like your perfect example is the Pogs. It doesn't even make sense to me to see them in there. It's purely for the kids. And to be fair, in the original trilogy, they did that with the Ewoks. Right? I mean, for me, I grew up thinking Ewoks were amazing. I guarantee people 10 years older than me were probably going, "What the hell was this?" These little bears running around actually killing all the stormtroopers.
But if I could add, Brody, I mean, the Ewoks were there, I think, in George Lucas's original idea or vision. In the concept of his story, he wanted to tell a story where technology could be outed by, not a race that did not rely on technology, if you will. You know what I mean? The Ewoks did not have the technology, and they still managed to.
Actually, Hamish, the Ewoks were supposed to be Wookiees.
Right.
Yeah.
It's different, like from cuddly little Ewoks to big Wookiees, right?
It's totally different, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, like, obviously, like, Ewoks are definitely, like, to sell merchandise. I mean, if you have, like, big, scary Wookiees, it's totally different than small, cuddly Ewoks.
Yeah.
I mean, the names are even similar. Ewoks, Wookiees.
Don't let me get started on the Jawas. Do another one. Yeah. But we had at least one cute character at the end. I think in episode 9. Is it Baba Figs?
Babu Frig.
Baba Fig. That fella.
The little guy who deactivates
C3PO. Yeah. That character was good. Short and sweet.
I don't see his merchandise anywhere.
Definitely not at $80. Oh God. Okay, Hamish, we'll start with you. Of all the 11 Star Wars movies, let's include Rogue One. Let's include Solo as well. Which is your personal favorite and why? We'll go with Hamish, Brody, and then Azmi.
I guess the personal favorite will definitely have to be the original Star Wars for me, Episode 4, A New Hope. I mean, that's the movie that, for me at least, and I probably am not alone. I think for my generation, it just made movie-going different. It was something that, people go to a movie previously and see a story happening on a screen. But somehow this movie took you out of your own existence, your own humdrum lifestyle, and you really invested in the characters, you really invested in the story, you really said to yourself, wow, how do I get off the planet? How do I get how do I get it to the next star system? You know, where's the next Mos Eisley Cantina? You know, I want to get onto a Millennium Falcon. I think Star Wars as a movie, not A New Hope. I mean, like Star Wars, because it was called Star Wars. We didn't know it was Episode 4 until much later. But Star Wars itself was for me, at least, the defining moment for me as a teenager that said, there's more to life than just, you know, going to school and learning books and trying to become I don't know, an engineer or a doctor or whatever it was. Here was something that you could actually be, for me at least, one with the universe. You know, the Force was something real for me. You know, I think that's for me. Episode 4.
Brody, 11 movies. Your favorite?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of biased based on I guess my my way of collecting and all that. But it's obviously related to the original trilogy. I think it's kind of a tie between Empire and Jedi for me. Like I got into it obviously through the usual means as a kid, and then I watched Star Wars. But Empire took it to a new level for me. Like it was a lot more action based. I know Star Wars is quite like, you know, it was kind of newfound so to speak, in terms of the way that they were doing movies. But Jedi and Empire were definitely like just the best thing I'd ever seen at the time. And just seeing, like, I think Hamish brought it up, like the biker scouts and the bike through the Endor forest. Like, that was just amazing. The Jabba's barge scene, and then even like the AT-AT walkers when they hit Hoth, and you just saw them and how big they were compared to what, you know, the Rebels had and what they were using to fight. So it just blew my mind in those respects. So, and the storyline was amazing. And even I think Empire at the time wasn't well liked to start with, but the cult following from it has become like the biggest fan favorite now.
And Empire, of course, in 2020 is celebrating its 40th anniversary. So we'll see what happens on May 25th, you know, in a couple more weeks, whether they do a huge thing virtually, you know, to celebrate the 40th anniversary. Azmi, your favorite among the 11?
My favorite Star Wars movie would be Empire Strikes Back, definitely. It has many elements of, like, basically Star Wars is what Empire Strikes Back is. So you have like lightsaber battles, you have the Force, you have land battles. I'm not sure, you have a little bit of space battle, but it's still there. And you have like intrigue, subterfuge, and then you see like the twist reveal at the end. Vader reveals himself to be the father of Luke Skywalker. However, my favorite scene is not that scene. My favorite scene in Star Wars is after years of watching Star Wars, including the cartoons, the Clone Wars, and all that, my most favorite scene is when Obi-Wan defeated Anakin on Mustafar.
Oh, episode 3.
Episode 3, yeah. And Obi-Wan cuts off Anakin's legs, and then it's like, why are you doing this? You're supposed to be someone else. You're not supposed to be this bad guy. You're supposed to destroy the bad guy, not join them. I mean, after watching everything as a whole, Star Wars as a whole, even the cartoons and reading the comics and all that, you feel what Obi-Wan feels. It's like, wow, this is actually a powerful scene if you watch Star Wars as a whole, not just as individual movies and cartoons.
Okay. For me, Empire Strikes Back is a close second, but episode 3, I think, is my personal favorite, just like what Azmi said, because it tied in everything, and to see the transformation, finally, Anakin from what he was into becoming Darth Vader, that whole storyline, seeing, you know, the conflict with Padme as well, and to see the Jedi being betrayed, even by the troopers. So that for me is the most significant in all the 9. That, Empire, and Rogue One is my third. Rogue One. You can't ignore what Rogue One brought to the you know. Okay. Brody, favorite Star Wars character of all time, and why? One character.
I'll have to go out on a limb here and actually say Darth Maul.
Which one? Sorry?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul.
He brought something to the prequels that prequels didn't really have. They didn't have a great storyline. They had Jar Jar Binks. They had really bad CGI. But Darth Maul made that happen. Yeah, and that scene where he's fighting Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan again, best fight scene, I feel, of like any of the trilogies.
Okay, let's hear from the lightsaber specialist, Azmi.
I mean, Darth Maul is also up there. I mean, like now with Clone Wars, we see Darth Maul being brought
resurrected.
Back and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my favorite character is Obi-Wan because it's pretty fly for Jedi.
Okay.
I love it.
Unfortunately, I mean,
there's a parody song called "Pretty Fly for Jedi," and it's about Obi-Wan. So.
There is Pretty Fly for Jedi.
Yeah.
But I agree. Darth Maul, unfortunately, I think in my book was underutilized. I mean, I think his character should have gone on maybe 2 episodes as opposed to just being cut off. I mean, being killed off in 1. But Hamish, did you know that he was resurrected in the animated series?
I did not. I mean, to be fair, I'm not a big fan of the animated series because I don't watch it here. Whatever happens in the animated series is probably very new to me or very unknown to me as well. But really, he was resurrected. Oh,
yeah. They used the animated series to sort of fill in a lot of these loopholes. So for those,
technically he didn't die, so he wasn't resurrected.
So he also didn't die.
He didn't die. Well, it's just like his vital organs are not destroyed, you know.
Ah, okay, wow. You learn something new every day.
Yeah. So, Hamish, your favorite character in the Star Wars universe?
You know, I was going to say Darth Maul, but Brody beat me to the punch. But yeah, no problem. Luckily, I have a backup, like we always do. And I guess my favorite character after Darth Maul is Chewbacca. The Han Solo's, I mean, like the sidekick, the one that you can always rely on to have your back. I mean, Chewie is one of those characters where you like him because all he does, like R2-D2 is, R2-D2 is bells and whistles, but Chewie just roars. But somehow or other, Han Solo knows what he's talking about, and we know what he's talking about. Sometimes he just has to roar, and the small little droid backs up and disappears really quick. I mean, Chewie is a character that you look at for the first time and you go immediately, I like this guy. I don't know why, but he's like the big dog that is faithful and he'll be having your back all the time. And I think Lucas kind of like wrote Chewie because he had his big Malamute there as he was writing the script, and I think the Malamute was called Indiana. And that was the basis for Indiana Jones. But he looked at the dog and he said, "Yeah, I need a character for Han Solo." And this big, fluffy, furry Malamute there. Okay, this is the guy. And
is that why Indy's son in episode 4
Mutt.
of the religious trilogy was called Mutt?
Yes, I think so too.
You learn a new thing. Yeah. So my personal favorite character, right there, sitting, above Hamish Brown, Darth Vader. I mean, for me, you can't go wrong with the master villain, because besides the storyline of Luke, I think the Vader storyline is shown clearly across all the 3 trilogies. So, and even though he was missing in episode 7, 8, and 9, but we could still feel, we could still feel
presence?
the effect. Yeah, in a way. I mean, the fact that when he steps onto the scene, you already, as opposed to him stepping onto the scene and Kylo Ren stepping into the scene. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, so we'll sum up the first trilogy. Brody, will let you go last because I think you said you're not too familiar with the first trilogy, we'll start with Azmi first. How would you sum up the first trilogy, 1, 2, and 3?
Episode 1, 2, and 3, or episode 4, 5, and 6?
No.
Episode 1,
1, 2, and 3.
Basically, some politician wanted to rule the galaxy, so so he sets everything in motion and becomes the emperor.
Yeah, and then he sort of converts, an innocent boy into the dark side, and
then kills all the peacekeepers.
So that's how you're gonna leave it. Okay.
Yeah, basically that's episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Hamish, the impact of eps 1 to 3.
I think the word I would use, or the phrase I would use, would be backstory and exposition. It's one of those things where, because we started with episode 4 and you everything's already in motion. I think Lucas, when he did 1, 2, and 3, he wanted to tell us, it's obviously the story of Darth Vader. But, some people say maybe Darth Vader could have been a little older than what he was with Jake Lloyd being so young in episode 1. Maybe he could have been a bit older rather than even younger than what's her name, Amidala. And even in episode 1, it looked a little strange to see this young boy and this slightly older girl, right? And so he's got the hots for her, fine, and then in episode 2, he's grown up and he's a bit taller than her, but you can't quite, get it out of your head that, he is younger than her, really. So, but it's backstory and exposition for me, episode 1 to 3. You needed to tell it because you've already told the story of Vader in 4, 5, and 6. So where's the story going? It has to go to the start. So backstory, exposition.
Brody?
Which is why we did 6.1, 6.2, 6.3.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And they came up with 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, just to tie it in between episode 2 and... No.
3 and 4.
7 seasons of fillers.
Yeah. No. The Clone Wars... The Clone Wars is actually between episode 2 and 3. Before Anakin...
More fillers.
Yeah. 7 seasons, Brody. 7 seasons of fillers between episode 2 and 3. Your thoughts on episodes 1 to 3?
On the prequels.
Correct.
So I guess I can summarize it as overhyped, bad CGI, and I guess the character development in some way not that great. I think George was looking at doing a bit of fan service, but at the same time, his vision of what those prequels were going to be was probably a lot different to what us as fans were expecting. And I think he focused more on the CGI element than to the actual storyline. But saying that, there were elements that were quite good. Like, as I said, the fight scenes were quite good. And everything, even like you were saying, Raj, your favourite episode being episode 3, the bit where Mace Windu has got Palpatine on the floor and he's effectively using the lightning or whatever to make it, to drain the energy out of it. That was amazing, right? Yeah. So there was elements of the prequels that were fantastically done, or they had the right elements to it but weren't quite done so well. But I think they were just trying to patch or fill in the gaps with just CGI and potentially merchandise-based characters like Jar Jar. So, you could effectively take episode 2 out of it for me. Didn't need it. And you could take the older Anakin and bring him into the episode 1 and develop him, like Hamish said, from a teenager rather than a kid. Yeah. So.
But they needed that love story element, I think, in episode 2. I mean,
it's like how they freed him as a slave or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then
they did that with Han and Leia, didn't they?
Yeah.
And not to take away too much from that, but it wasn't done. It wasn't forced down your throat, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was just good chemistry.
Yeah. Scruffy looking. Who's
scruffy looking?
I think it all boils down to the writing as well as the chemistry of the
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Totally.
Yeah.
And this is where he was directing all three, wasn't he? Whereas
Yes.
before he
He
only
was.
directed one. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can see the difference in the outcomes from that.
Yeah, and the Phantom Menace, I think, came 16 years after Jedi. It was in 99, and Jedi, I think, was in 83. So, there's a huge gap over there. And like what I think we all alluded to the fact that, yeah, you needed this backstory in order to tell the transformation of Anakin from what he was to becoming Darth Vader. You needed that backstory, if not, yeah.
But I think Brody is right when he says that George Lucas directed like the first 3 episodes in the prequel series, like 1, 2, and 3 are all directed by him. Yes, 4 was directed by Lucas, but 5 and 6 were other directors. And I think most fans agree episode 5 is really treasured as the episode that vaulted Star Wars as a phenomenon into myth territory, mythology. And episode 5 was not directed by Lucas. It was directed by
Krishna.
Yes, the Krishna. And he imbued, I think, episode 5 with what was needed. A real emphasis on character growth and the whole need for the characters. George Lucas, I think, in episode 1, 2, and 3, as Brody says, is very, very keen on the CGI. And I think it's been reported when George is directing for episode 4, all the actors were saying, "So George, how did I do?" Faster, more intense. That's really all his direction. Faster and more intense, faster and more intense. I mean, George really wasn't a very good director in that sense of actors. He probably was a very good editor, because I think for George, he's most comfortable in an editing room where you get all the elements, all the film pieces together, and then you can cut it together and see the magic come to life.
I think he's good at world building instead of like, yeah.
And talking about magic, of course, before the release of the Phantom Menace, they released the episode 4, 5, and 6 again with the remastered soundtrack, the score, additional scenes that were missing in 4, 5, and 6, and we all went back to the cinemas to actually watch it. Right? I'm assuming we all did. That was
we did.
Yeah, huge marketing.
Actual slug as Jabba the Hutt.
Exactly. Yeah. Seeing Jabba. Yeah. Okay. I know this one is going to be tough. Hamish, we'll start with you. Your favorite scene across all 11 Star Wars movies. Favorite scene.
My favorite scene, I think you're going to be pretty surprised by this. It doesn't have any action in it. It doesn't have any kinetic displays, speed, nothing. But it is from episode 4, and it is the moment where Luke Skywalker on Tatooine at the end of the day looks out and he sees the twin suns setting, or I think, they're setting. And he doesn't say anything, but you hear John Williams' soundtrack, and it wells up. The whole soundtrack just wells up. And that, to me, is pure cinema. You feel exactly what he's feeling. I want to get off this planet. I think there's a whole lot more to what I am capable of doing, but I can't do it on this planet. I need to get off. Why is my life only here on this desert planet? Wanting to do vaporators and what have you. I don't want to do this. But that scene alone, without any dialogue, and it's almost a static shot if you think about it. You cut to his face looking out into the distance, and you see a back shot of him being silhouetted by 2 twin suns, and it's just this welling of John Williams' soundtrack score. That just, to me, is brilliant filmmaking. It told me everything I needed to know about Luke. It told me everything I wanted to love about the film. That I was on board. I didn't have to see anything else. This film has got me. This he's done it right.
Wow. And this was back in 77 when you were only a teenager. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Brody? Most iconic scene.
Yeah, I think it's something Hamish alluded to earlier, was when the Star Destroyer first comes into screen. and it just keeps coming. It keeps coming, and it's like, what the hell is this? And it just blew your mind as a kid. Unbelievable. Yeah,
Okay.
so that would probably be the most iconic
Scene.
one for me. Yeah.
Okay. Azmi.
The most iconic scene for me, I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's the most iconic one for me is that on the Rebel ship in episode 4, suddenly the door like just blew open, and then Stormtrooper keeps shooting, and then at the end of it, and Darth Vader comes in. It's like, what a mess.
Yeah.
Where's the princess?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most iconic moments for me. It's like, wow, it's like, what are these plastic spacemen? What are they doing? Why are they shooting at each other? It's like, I mean, they're obviously bad guys, right? Because they wear masks. I mean, and the good guys just wear masks, and then good guys just keep dropping like flies. And then Stormtroopers just keep coming in waves after wave after wave. It was like, wow. And a big bad guy comes in, it's like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Right. I have to say, this is a special mention as we're adults as well. It's got to be the slave Leia scene in Jedi, right?
Yeah.
yeah, sitting by the side of Jabba the Hutt. Yep. Yeah. But going back to what Azmi said, I mean, for them to have recreated that scene in Rogue One at the end, I think, when we watched towards the end of Rogue One, and when Vader finally appears, I can tell you the number of people in the cinema, all just went into ecstasy when they finally see the red lightsaber just beam up, and you hear Vader, which is my iconic scene. Goes back to Episode 3, when at the end he's all cut up and everything on the planet of Mustafar, and then we see him at the end when it fades from black, and they open the scene, and then you see Vader just rises for the first time that we get to see Anakin in the Darth Vader suit, and you hear the voice, and then he will ask the Emperor, where's Padme, and then she died or something, and then you see the whole room just go to bits. So it was just that iconic moment when we hear the voice first before we see him just rise into the scene as Vader for the first time. Yeah, that one was for me was my favorite.
That's the payoff for the first 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes build to that one scene, because you want to see how Vader becomes Vader.
Almost at the tail end of this special Singapore May the 4th discussion, Azmi, let's touch on memorabilia, and what do you have to show us from your collection?
Since it's May the 4th and Singapore, so I would like to show something like this is.
Oh, nice!
This is a proof card for like one of our local May the 4th event. Each of the so-called organizing committee got one with their own name there. This is done by Jeffrey Ko. I'm sure Brody know who Jeffrey is. Yeah, he's one of the people who does all the Star Wars May the 4th stuff together with Suhadi and Henson. My favorite memorabilia in Singapore Star Wars Day context.
Okay. I think we can agree that there isn't an event for this year, right? Given the current COVID situation.
Actually, I mean, like, we all have like online stuff and all that. Fight Table has a competition like DIY, use your own, how to make your own costumes. There are prizes to be won.
Okay. Hamish, your treasured.
I have a memorabilia thing which I'm very fond of, because I bought this when I was in Bulgaria years and years ago, and it's not a Mattel kind of thing. Brody, you might be interested in this. This is. Can you see this? Wait, this is a it's a babushka thing. So that was Darth Vader, and then you take it out.
Obi-Wan.
That's Obi-Wan, right? And you take it out, and then you have
Luke. Yeah.
You take this out.
What is that?
3PO.
Oh.
Wait. Take it out.
R2D2.
And yet you have R2D2.
It's
the last one because this is the smallest one inside it. I was in Bulgaria and I was walking in the market and I saw these things. This is what they do. They kind of like do things in wood and stuff like that. And I was a big fan of that, and I'd never seen anything like this. So I asked the lady how much it was, and she told me something. It was actually very cheap. So I said, I'm buying it only because it's not sanctioned, although it has all that there as well. And I don't know. I've kept it years and years and years, and I'm telling myself it might be worth something to someone.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because I've seen a lot of Star Wars material, but I've never seen a babushka kind of thing like this. Russian dolls inside of each other. This is one of my very nice memorabilia, which I kept.
Wow, Brody, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about Tall Toys before you share with us your memorabilia.
Yeah, so Tall Toys is effectively the sister company of Kenner, who were the original distributors and designers of the toys back from 77 through to 85, actually through to the mid-90s. And Australia had their own production company, but they just distributed them. And so they're effectively still Kenner figures, except the cards sometimes had slight differences. Tall Toys written on them rather than Kenner. And effectively what they were, because they went to Australia and some to Singapore, New Zealand and to Malaysia, because of such small populations that we had here compared to the rest of the world, the numbers were greatly reduced in terms of the distribution. So that in the end, now they're very rare to find. And so I guess my quest for the last 15 or 16 years is literally putting together whatever I can find in relation to Tall Toys or to the Australian or New Zealand market. One piece I have here, and again, this is not Tall Toys, but I'll explain the significance. And I'm hoping you can see this.
Okay.
Wow.
So, excuse the background noise. So you can see here it says Kenner. Right, so this is an American card, but this yellow sticker here was something that came out in Australia after they were brought to market. So the department stores put these on. And there's literally less than maybe 15 to 20 examples still unopened in the world.
Wow.
And, new ones come to light every now and again, but this is one that I picked up lately. And even for something like this, the bubble's not very nice. It's a bit broken, but still in excess of $1,500 US.
Wow.
Something like that. And so what I guess what we do in the vintage community here, there's a very tight-knit community, and we're very much welcoming like any new people that want to join. And of course, we've been doing Zoom calls and things like that, and even get-togethers for the past 5 years. We're always at the May the 4th event, just showcasing the amount of vintage figures and things that are actually in Singapore. And Singapore, being such a small population, has probably some of the biggest vintage Star Wars fan bases in the world. Right? The memorabilia here is beyond belief, and that's multiple people. And even we actually build acrylic cases now to house toys. So you can see on this one, the acrylic case is made in Singapore, and we distribute them across the island as well for people that want to preserve their figures and stuff. So it's become quite a big deal here. And
can I get an acrylic case for this?
Yeah, but it's a fantastic community, and this is partly the reason I've stayed in Singapore. So Hanson, who got me onto this, along with other people like Greg Fong, Derek Koh, and Jeffrey Koh, who's been mentioned before, we're all old school, but we have just such a passion for this, and it comes out amongst the community. And you can have 10 beat up figures, and everyone would still be fighting over them within that community, and that's what's really good about this.
Okay. Is it how can if they are interested consumers or clients, how can they reach out to you?
So for the vintage community, there's a Star Wars Vintage Toys Singapore group.
On Facebook?
On Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
And then from there, you can obviously contact us individually. Yeah.
What about...
Generally, probably the best way to contact.
Okay, but Tall Toys itself, directly?
Tall Toys, I guess there's actually a really good website called tolltoys.com that a friend of mine runs from Melbourne, but that's talking about all the merchandise, so not just Star Wars, but everything that Tall Toys did. But there's a Tall Toys specific, like the panel that I did last year is on YouTube, and I think Raj, I passed you the link to that. So if you want to know about the history of vintage toys in Singapore and Australia, you can watch that, as well as another one that Derek Ho did the year before, or 2 years before that, on vintage Star Wars in Singapore. And that gave a great history from when the movies came out, and not just the toy part, but everything that it was involved in Singapore. So it's another great thing to watch.
Okay, all right. My most prized memorabilia, there's no way it can compare to the three of you what you've shown. And it's probably too big to even show it here. I'll show it on a JPEG. It is actually an edit.
It's hanging behind you. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. That one cost like $400. It was shipped from the United Kingdom. But the thing I was telling you about is an edit. The toy version, of course. Back when it came out in 1980, I wasn't able to afford it, so it took me like 30 years when I actually turned 40, and I bought a present for myself. When I went down to Metro and was selling for like $300. So I just told myself, no, it's a 40th birthday present. Finally, I got to, I don't think you can see it. Yeah. And you know what? Even though this was bought in 2011, I still haven't even opened it. So that's 9 years ago. It's still sealed up. I haven't. Just waiting. I'm just waiting for somebody to come up with the remote control version where you can control the edit and it walks. Is there one? Do y'all know? Are y'all aware of?
I think it's the AT-ACT. They do have one. I think.
Remote control.
Yeah, it's from the one from the Rogue One.
Wow.
That's a new one.
The yellow one, the AT-ACT. Yeah.
Okay. Then we can create our own little mini movies. All right, guys. We've unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have hosted this session with three, extremely fanboys of the universe. I mean, the three of you have brought so much into this discussion. I want to personally thank, each and every one of you, Azmi, Danuri, Hamish Brown, Brody Walker. Thank you very much for all your insights and sharing your love for what we all know as Star Wars. Your final thoughts, Brody, as we celebrate today, May the 4th. Unfortunately, for the first time in decades, all of us are confined in our own homes. But how do you feel at this time, spending May the 4th at home?
Yeah, given the environment, it is different, but the love is still there, and you still have ways to communicate with each other, and you want to share that love as we do every day. So just make sure you do have that contact with your friends and family and anyone that's even involved in the hobby, because this is what helps you get through these times.
Azmi in Singapore.
Yeah, May the 4th. Unlike other years for the past many years. But we still have friends online. We watch Star Wars movies, and of course, the season finale of the Clone Wars is today. Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, that's something Hamish needs to go and download or something. 8 seasons. 7 seasons of fillers. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Another thing on my to-do list.
Trust me, you're gonna like. I mean, even though it's an animated series, I think it was meant for the adults in mind, if I'm not mistaken, to a certain extent.
And this is a spoiler. If you think that the Vader scene in Rogue One was great, watch Clone Wars season 7, episode 11, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't come to
Darth
that.
Maul. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, you want to do a quick plug for Saber, right?
Yeah, Fight Saber, as you might already know, it's a lightsaber performance group. We practice, we choreograph lightsaber fights. I mean, we don't look as good as Ray Park, of course, but we come close.
Yeah.
Yeah, with costumes and all that. We actually have an online competition. It's for a DIY costume. Also, reenact Star Wars scenes, like using in your own way, and post it on our Facebook. It's Fight Saber Singapore. I can win prizes. Sponsored by. Can I say sponsors?
Can. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sponsored by Reed and Singapore Comic Con. Yeah.
Okay. So once again, the user ID is Fight Saber Singapore.
Fight Saber Singapore.
Okay. Hamish, it's May the 4th, and you're in in Thailand.
Yeah, in splendid isolation, if you will. But I think I could be in Thailand. I could be in any part of the universe as well. People who love Star Wars in general share something very special. The mythology, the story, the feelings, the Force itself. It combines us. It unites us. It brings the universe together. I think taking these words exactly, taking these words straight from the film. I mean, at a time like this, it is so prescient. I mean, we are apart, but we're still together. And as long as there's technology, as long as there's a twin sun somewhere that rises or sets, and you look at it, you can get through this. You can get off the planet. You can become something more. And all you got to do is have faith and believe, and you'll step into a larger world. May the 4th be with you.
Nicely put. Azmi, Hamish, Brody, thank you very much. May the Force be with you. Be well, be safe, stay home. We will see each other when this whole madness is over. Right?
Indeed, we will.
May the 4th be with you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Okay.
You have failed me for the last time.